Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. And it finally happened. Aaron Rodgers is back on a one-year deal with the Steelers. I thought it happened early. They made it seem like they wanted to get player buy-in before the workouts that are coming up. I think the non-mandatory ones, whatever they call them, is like OVAs or whatever. And the funny thing is, I saw a lot of comments from players where they were like, yeah, not a big deal, right? We didn't really care. Because they probably feel the same way that I do. It's not going to move the needle. Right? They didn't get him any help. And you're basically bringing back a middling team that didn't do anything last year. Squeaked into the playoffs. Quarterback is 1 year older. He's like 42 now or something. Not going to work out.
You can be in peak athletic shape at 42.
Tom Brady, did you see him modeling?
No.
I don't know if it was AI, but I get a lot of Tom Brady stuff in my timeline. And he was like modeling. I don't even know what it was for. But he looked like a robot. And I thought, oh, classic. Classic Tom Brady doing whatever he wants. But Aaron Rodgers couldn't do that. Right? He hasn't been at the level of success because how old's Matt Stafford? He's a couple years younger, right?
Yeah.
3? 4? I'm guessing. I'm trying to guess of when he graduated from Georgia. But my thing is with him, he's also considered like he's been playing his best. It seemed like recently, but he's at the part where like Tom Brady was, where you're such a veteran that they can't surprise you. And as long as you have weapons, you can make plays. But there are times where your body just doesn't look like it. And so if they get pressure on him, he's pretty much done. With Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't seem like he has the same level of breaking down the defense that Stafford and Tom Brady does. He's in like a lot more trouble, and it looks like he has guys open. And I know that everyone always like just drools all over him in the media. Like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is awesome. He's like the best. People are still trying to push that he's the best quarterback. Like, buddy, he hasn't even, in his entire career, he's never been like the best quarterback because he's always had Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes playing. No matter what, I don't care what the stats say about it. That 1 year he won the Super Bowl, maybe. But he's never been like the best historic NFL quarterback of all time at any point in his entire career. There's no argument where you can say that Aaron Rodgers is the best. He also had to play against like Peyton Manning and some other guys that used to be like in that level. And I know Mahomes has kind of dropped off, and with his injuries and stuff, we'll see how he bounces back. But it seems like the Chiefs keep putting players in place to make a championship run, and I haven't seen Pittsburgh do that. That's my biggest concern is you held on to Ben Roethlisberger, and it feels like you've made the decision that it's like almost like I don't want to say it, but it's almost like a Pittsburgh Pirates move where they're doing just enough to hold the interest of the fans. Like, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a 8 to 10 win team. We're not going to win in the playoffs. I mean, we could win one. Right? But we know what's here. We don't want to try too hard. We don't want to do a full rebuild. Maybe if we bring in like another veteran quarterback, you're bringing him back, you know that the quarterbacks that you have battling aren't probably going to work out. But who knows? Like maybe they do. Like, I mean, Alar is a high upside guy. He's been that way since college, where it's like, is James Franklin holding him back? Or what? Which we don't know. Right? You get some quarterbacks in the ears, and it's always like wondering, like, okay, is this guy, I always wonder that with like Jim Harbaugh. Like, is he holding these guys back? You wait for someone to transfer, and then they never like really step up. I think Joe Milton, like when he went to Tennessee, I kept waiting to see because he turned it on to one game against Minnesota and it was like fool's gold. I'm like, this guy's the truth, man. He's going to lead Michigan to national championship. And then he like Harbaugh, like, nope, not happening. And I thought, is Harbaugh holding him back? And when it didn't work out at Tennessee, I thought, okay, I could see he just has the big arm, kind of erratic. Then he went to the Patriots and I was like, okay, maybe he can like grow and finally be that next level. That's what you kind of want from Drew Allar. He's been at Penn State. Has Franklin been holding him back? He didn't bounce around in college like Milton did. I know Milton had like a bigger arm, but Drew Allar was a pretty big time recruit. And the last time they had one was at Hackenberg. That wasn't a Franklin recruit, I don't think. I think that was Bill O'Brien. So Penn State has had big time quarterbacks come into the league, and they haven't worked out. The only one that's worked out is what, Kerry Collins? Kind of.
Yeah.
Until his jaw broke into a million pieces. Isn't that what happened to him? Yeah, like a big concussion or whatever. He's like the Panthers' like first QB. But yeah, I don't know what Steeler fans should think going into the season. Do you throw in the towel? Probably not. You have a guy that it's weird because if he was playing in Green Bay still, I think the fans can relive that one Super Bowl and say like, well, he did get us the Super Bowl. There are teams that have never even played in the Super Bowl. Like, we're not going to overlook that. But the fact that he didn't do it for Pittsburgh, there's no nostalgia where you can say like, all right, we're going to see our guy play for one last season, like with Big Ben. You're like, hey, buddy, you did it for us. We're going to ride with you. And then if it doesn't work out, like, you've earned that right to go out whenever you want. Aaron Rodgers hasn't earned that with Pittsburgh. But I knew this was going to happen. I told you they're going to do it. I thought he was going to come back in like July. But maybe he knows that if he wants to get the locker room to buy in, he has to show up earlier this year. Because I don't think his decision was this early last year, was it? Wonder if I can find that. Because that's what I was thinking, like, coming in, like, to the show. Like, when did he come up? Because, let's see. They circled whatever. 2026, May 18, 2026. This doesn't say, the OTAs start yesterday.
But I think, like, the one thing that I don't think it's as pressing because he already is familiar with McCarthy. He already has a feel, and I think that it works both ways. Like, I do think the last couple of years where the offense was really, really stale, I think that was attributed to Tom. I think when you have, like, I guess I look at this from the perspective that the defense plays well enough for them to win. They have all of the elements. They just need to move the ball enough. And I think with having an offensive-minded coach, that it's going to play out better. I think the offense is probably going to resemble some of those late years of Brady, where they're not going to ask him to run around and scramble because that's not his game. But he'll have all the ability to check out of plays at the line and make decisions at the line of scrimmage and check hot routes and stuff on guys. And I think they did add Dowdle, the running back from Carolina. They added Pittman. Like they have, it's not like they went completely bare. And I think it was helpful that they went in the draft and they secured more lines. So, I mean, you give him a little bit more protection. And I think that depth is something that's going to help them because if injuries come up, they still have the ability to move guys around and still have a functioning offensive line. So, I mean, the years of spending first-round draft picks on offensive linemen could maybe finally pay off, that they can put a consistent five together.
Well, I looked this up. Last year he signed June 7th. So he's like 2 or 3 weeks early. I thought he signed later, to be honest. I thought it was in June. But because he missed the OTA window last year. And they structured it last year like it was his last year. But bringing in McCarthy, he played with him before. You don't think he's going to go back to more of like a Green Bay style offense when they were together?
I mean, I would think that they've evolved, and I don't think that they go completely back to the Green Bay offense. I'm sure there's elements of it that'll be there, but I mean, coaches evolve. And I think you also have to look at what's on the roster and kind of tailor it to the players that you have.
Well, even when he's with Dallas, though, he still kind of led that passing first, where Tom Brady kind of settled into relying on the run a lot more.
I mean, I think you could say that, but a lot of his run was from those spread sets. So, I mean, to me, it's a comparable situation.
Well, I'm just not sure how much is going to change from Tomlin to McCarthy. We'll see. I mean, that's the biggest change is the coaching change. But you hired a retread. You could have went with someone younger, like a hotter offensive mind.
Yeah, I agree. But I think you also look at this is a really veteran team that's assembled. Like they're designed to win right now.
Well, that's why I would have been more interested if they brought in some other like hotter up and coming coaches. Did you see that they recycled that coaching like accelerator program or whatever, and they just put McDonald back on there? Now that he's with like the Chargers OC or whatever he's doing with Harbaugh, they're like, you can come back in. We'll get you back in there. Didn't work out with Miami. He'll be the next Pittsburgh coach, dude. We'll fire him around, and then it'll be totally different. Then you'll get your wish of having an offensive-minded coach bringing through whatever schemes he can come up with. When in reality, you want a defensive coach running an old-school run wing T offense.
I think you can run a heavier run-first offense when you have the dominant offensive line to get it done. I think if you're having question marks on your offensive line and you have the talented skill guys there, you can rely more on your passing game when you have a veteran quarterback. Like I think to me, I would rather rely more on my run game when I know that I don't have consistency in my passing game.
Well, that's where you have the contrasting styles, right? Because like Jim Harbaugh's all running, and I think I said McDonald, but McDaniel. McDonald's the Seahawks head coach now. I'm getting my Harbaugh assistants mixed up. But he, at the Dolphins, dude, he wasn't really running the ball that much at all. They're doing more speed and space type stuff.
Well, and I think like that whole speed and space works when you have a bunch of those types of guys and you have like that structure set up. They're not really built for a track meet.
Well, that's why I want to see what the Ravens do, because that could shift the AFC North, where they get rid of their Harbaugh, known for turtling, right, and playing conservative, and you bring in, they brought in, Jesse Minter, so you have a young, he's a first-time head coach. What's he going to do? And then is John Harbaugh going to keep that same conservative offense like back in New York? Because I think if a lot of these old guard coaches get
look
kind
at
of
the
pushed
Ravens,
out.
like you said about the turtling Ravens, but I mean, Lamar Jackson has proved he's run first and hasn't been as consistent throwing the ball. So like they go with those heavier sets and design quarterback run to compensate for the fact that he hasn't been as consistent throwing the ball.
And they have the heavy running game with Derrick Henry still, right? I don't think they got rid of him.
Yeah, he's still there.
So that's going to be interesting. You can't just fully open it up, because then you're going to have know, like the way the line has to block, you're not going to be beneficial. You're not going to have that downhill running game with Henry. So you almost have to run more of a pro style. I'm curious to see what they roll out this year. I don't remember what offensive coordinator Minter brought with him, but I know he's probably coached with some weirdos with Harbaugh. Probably doesn't have the deepest bench to bring in, right? Of offensive guys anyway. Because I never heard like, I don't know. Pep Hamilton, he had a run, right? Never really worked out wherever he went, but he had a chance. He was with Maryland, I think, which I saw they did a back in time history, and they like did the coaches from college that played college, and Mike Locksley was like a defensive back. Dude, how did he get so out of shape? I don't know. Right? Like you like into where he wasn't he having like health issues, but going from a DB, like I didn't even recognize him, and I've seen him because I even saw he was doing some like memes on Twitter with that one dude that breaks down like the film and does like the fake film reviews. He had Mike Locksley do a cameo, and I thought that's great for him coming out doing that, right? But that's an off topic. Any other big NFL news as we go into OTAs that you saw coming out?
Racey Rice he broke probation and is now being sentenced to 30 days in jail.
He's in with the Chiefs?
Yeah.
So that'll be one less. Oh, he's only 30 days though. Did he miss all last year? Or did he play? Wait, it says he had a surgery anyway. So he's supposed to be back. More people like driving over 100 miles an hour. I don't know how accurate it was, but someone had put together on Twitter that they're like Georgia is supposed to have like 80 something arrests. And then they did like a fact check on it. And then like the fact check said, no, there's not been 80 arrests since 2023. It's only 30 something. And I'm like, Kirby Smart's been there since like 2017. Now this makes me think that it is real, right? The 80 something arrests under Kirby Smart, because if it only in the last 3 years he has 30, that's not a stretch to just add 30, like however many years he's been there. Every 3 years he has 30 arrests, 10 a year. That's pretty accurate, I would think, which is kind of crazy to me how you can just brush that under the rug. And then all the Ole Miss stuff going on, not going to comment on like the craziness, but like even Texas, like Sarkisian gets into it and he's complaining about the transfer credits. I've seen that happen at Michigan. Like you're trying to pretend that Texas has some like hardship that Michigan and Notre Dame and a bunch of other ones don't have. Like, is he insane? Like the transfer thing pretty much killed Juwan Howard. He had a bunch of recruits lined up transferring that 1 year, his last year, and they all committed, and all the transfers fell through because I think I saw Dusty May talk about it where Michigan has a hard time taking juniors because I think it was the same thing Sarkisian was saying, that if you bring in a guy that's a junior, only up into his sophomore year transfers in, so he has to commit to 2 more years to get a degree. So who's going to, like, if your mindset's on, I'm going pro, why would you transfer to one of those schools where you're basically losing a year? It's not like a redshirt year where you're losing a year of athletics and you can play for another year. Like, no, you just lose a year transferring there. Right? So why would you go? Why would you do that? You might as well go and get, because I think that's what Dusty talked about, where they look at guys that have enough that maybe if they are a junior, they have to have enough credits where they might be able to take summer classes and graduate early and then transfer in as a grad transfer. And then that's where you get these guys coming in for like the one last year. I think that's where, who was the guy? They had a couple of transfers. I don't know if they were the guys from FAU that came with Dusty or if it was one of the other ones, because he brought a bunch in, right? I can't know off the top of my head who came from where, but that was like his strategy. So Sarkisian, cut me a break, dude. I don't need to hear about you guys crying how hard it is at Texas when you guys are paying like millions of dollars for recruits and having like car photo shoots and all this stuff. Like, dude, Win it on the field. He's obviously feeling the pressure. Right? But calling out Ole Miss is awkward. Is it because they went farther in the playoffs than Texas has? Right? Did they go further? I can't remember when Texas got eliminated last year to Ohio State. That wasn't the Final Four, was it?
I don't think.
And Ole Miss, they were in the Final Four this year, didn't they? Weren't they in the Final Four
Yeah,
against Miami?
They were pushing deep, and I think they potentially could have made a push had Kiffin not turned that into a complete circus.
Oh, he probably could have won the championship, right? Or at least had a good chance. I don't know if he could outcoach Cignetti, but Miami played Indiana so tough that if Ole Miss would have been able to pull that out, because that game came down to the wire. Carson Beck ran that game-winning touchdown in, I think. I think that was the game winner where he scrambled in for the touchdown late. So you can't tell me that if Ole Miss would have won that, even without Kiffin, they could have had a chance to win the national championship. So all of Sarkisian's stuff and all of Kiffin's complaints, obviously, because they're trying to take away from the success at Ole Miss, pretty much. Not that I don't cheer for Ole Miss or care about them or anything, but obviously it's sour grapes, and it's weird when coaches call up like other programs that, like, I get it, buddy, you're jealous. Sarkisian, you're jealous. And the guy's he annoys me because he's been at top programs. He's been at Washington that went to a national championship after he left. He's been at USC that won national championships before he got there. And now he's been at Texas that also won national championships before he got there. It's like, dude, you're on the biggest stage going to all the biggest programs and you can't get it done? Right? Like Washington even won one in the 90s. So like, and that's the one thing that I brought this up because I was talking about the NFL and some of the things going like with players coming out. I wonder if we're going to see players from the NFL try to come back to college like we see in the NBA. LSU just signed a guy that had been playing for the Celtics and the Jazz, like G League or whatever they are. And now they're waiting because the NCAA had already won. Well, they won their injunction against the guy from Alabama. But Alabama still played that guy during the season. And the NCAA should have been swift and basically vacated. I don't know if they won any games he played or not, but they should have just immediately vacated them and went to Alabama and said, you guys proved that he was eligible, right? You played him. Because there's no way that Alabama's going to be able to like prove that he didn't play pro ball or sign a contract, right? It's already out there. Like the same with this guy. He had 2 contracts. He with the Jazz and the Celtics. And I think they said a third one, another one with the Celtics for a third one because he signed with another one of their teams. So there should be no way that LSU should be able to sign this. But now, after I watch a couple like Michigan guys leave early after the Sharon stuff, I wonder, and I know a couple of guys didn't get drafted, but like what's to say that there's not going to be a push where these guys can then come back and say, you know what? Didn't get drafted. I know all of them signed like immediately, but what if they get cut early on in like July? Are we going to see college football players this year try to come back and sign with their old school? I mean, with the scholarship limit, I don't know what you would be on, but like, what would be the difference if you just walked on? Right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys paid me NIL. I don't need a scholarship. Could you get me an NIL deal? Because an NIL deal is separate. So you could just walk on and get an NIL deal and not count against a scholarship, I think. I think that's how they're doing it. I know there's like a roster limit, but you're always going to have camp injuries. You're always going to have whatever. Where else to find a guy that fits your system than a guy that just played high enough to get NFL looks, right? And then just went through NFL training camp and decided to come back to help your team. It's going to happen. It's going to. I'm thinking it's not going to be like a Michigan. I'm thinking it's going to be in the SEC. But I think we're going to start seeing, because I think the Sharks are circling, dude. There's blood in the water. Was it Jed Fish, I think Washington's head coach, even called out and said, like, The SEC hasn't even played for a championship recently, and yet they're the ones that don't want to expand the playoffs. They get most of the bids they can't even win. So, yeah. I don't know what his exact comments were, but that's basically the gist of it. Notre Dame, Miami are able to win in the playoffs. SEC hasn't been able to even play for a national championship. You want to keep it small because they benefit from it, and their partner is ESPN. That's their only media partner. And if it goes to 24, which right now it looks like ACC and the Big 12 are on board. Someone told me down here that they think that the ACC got a verbal commitment to getting like 5 bids, auto bids. And I'm like, looking at the person like, are you serious? You believe that? Right? You went from getting 2 bids, auto bids, to in the course of a month getting 5. Like, there's no way the Big 10 is agreeing to give you and the Big 12 5 auto bids, like with the SEC and the Big 10 or whatever, 5. And then if they get 6, they get 1 more. No, there's going to be no way they're going to put those teams out in the bloodbath. They really just want, because the Big 10 knows, if we're being honest, the Big 10 knows that the SEC has their teams always just ranked a little bit ahead of the Big 10. If you go to a 2014 playoff, they usually even out. Like if you look at like the top 25, it'll be like, hey, 7 SEC teams and 7 Big 10 teams. All the SEC teams are like in the top 10, and then all the Big 10 teams are like in the teens. And it's like, oh, okay. You're just guessing that the SEC is better and putting them ahead. But if you went to a 2014 playoff, I think the data says like, okay, you're going to have it. And it's the same with the ACC, which is probably why they're coming on board, because a lot of times they might have 5 teams ranked, but a lot of times they're ranked in the lower teens. And that's where that graphic that I talked about a couple weeks ago where Notre Dame was bragging about beating all these ranked teams. And if you looked at the list, it was like a lot of like 22 ranked Marshall or like Pitt ranked 24. And it's like, okay, buddy, we see who you're playing. One more thing while I'm on the college thing. Also, the ACC coaches have been speaking out. I don't know if you saw this. ACC coaches have been also circling the wagons against Notre Dame. I don't know the exact details. I tried to look for a breakdown to see if I could find anything. But I don't know. Does Notre Dame get football TV money from the ACC? Like, is it an even split? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Because at one of the coaches, I guess, I don't know who it was. It was like from one of the closed ACC meetings down here. They were saying that the coaches are annoyed that Notre Dame has that bowl game carve out that I've been making fun of for years. Like they've had this agreement where if Notre Dame steals an ACC BCS bowl game, this was before the playoffs expanded, Notre Dame would get to keep 100% of that money. And so now with the playoffs, if Notre Dame wins multiple rounds, they're not getting just one payout. Now they're getting potentially 3, 4 payouts that the ACC doesn't see any money from. So I don't know if people saw the payouts from like the Big 10 where they started to like share it, but you could see that like Ohio State made more money because they won the national championship last year, and Indiana had won a game and Penn State had won a couple. So like they were getting more money from the Big 10 because of those wins. That money was still like split or whatever from the TV and everything. Notre Dame would just get 100% of whatever the payout is from the playoff. And so teams are going to be mad about that because they did go to the Final Four. Or no, they went to the championship game. So they got all that money like a year or two ago. Unless the agreement started later. But coaches were saying that they didn't like how Notre Dame spoke out against Miami. Miami clearly deserved to be in. They went to the national championship game and had a great chance of winning. We already talked about that this week. Notre Dame sour grapes and how publicly they've been doing it while they're getting the king's ransom. Because what I read is that they might still get TV money from football, which I didn't think they got. Where, like, let's say if the ACC pays out like a $30 million share to all of its partners, they're saying Notre Dame gets one of those shares, is what I've heard. And I don't know how connected my source is, right? But if Notre Dame's getting that, and then they get the television from NBC, which then they don't share back. So they're getting whatever from the ACC, and they're getting their own TV contract, and they're potentially getting the college football bowl payouts. I mean, supposedly they're not making as much as what they would in the Big Ten or SEC, but that has to get them pretty darn close. Because like we know what the NBC contract is, and we know it's not that much if it's like $13 million a year or whatever. But if you're also getting the ACC contract, which I didn't even consider, that gets you like up to 40, 50. And then you make the playoffs, you have to be close to that 60, 70 million that the ACC or SEC and the Big Ten are getting, I would think. Right?
I would think, but I don't know how much. Like Notre Dame, I feel like there was a pressure in that arms race that they were happy to bring Notre Dame in because Notre Dame dictated all the terms of everything, and by having the ability to override seats for playoffs and things like that, like they have the ability to pick which bowl game they want to play or not play in. Like I think that hurts the ACC because Notre Dame opts out of a bowl. There's additional TV and revenue that could be funneled into the department, and I would guess that they're probably whatever they make, they get to keep on their own independently. Would be my guess.
And that's where I think we're going to see a major shift. Even if there's an expanded playoff, there's no way I could see the ACC continuing the agreement with Notre Dame. That's just me and my feeling down here from what I've been hearing and what I've seen coaches say. Maybe the higher-ups feel differently, but if you're trying to make your conference as strong as what it is, we already know that football's king. It doesn't matter. Notre Dame has like their prestige in like women's basketball or whatever. That doesn't help the product at all. In fact, we've had numbers from like, was it UNC we brought in, where that shows like they're losing money pretty much everywhere. And they're historically one of the most well-rounded athletic departments. So if they can't make money and they're winning national championships in other sports, Notre Dame's not going to help a conference make money in those other sports. I mean, honestly, the Big Ten, they're playing Notre Dame for hockey. At this point, they don't want to play us in football. I don't even care if they're in our hockey anymore. Right? I'd rather see Illinois and Rodgers or whatever other teams have been, was it Maryland, have been rumored to start teams. Bring them in. Bring them into the Big Ten. Or heck, even do a merger with like the ACC pod that's kind of bringing up UNC and NC State. They're trying to level up to D1. If they don't have enough teams to have an ACC conference, then just join in. If you're going to have Notre Dame, then at least that makes more sense. But I'm all for Notre Dame just getting boxed out. Let them have their 24-team playoff. Let them play whatever weak teams that they want to play then. Have them get in as like a 20 seed every year. Have them get blasted. I think that would be the future. If the ACC cuts the deal, I really don't see the Big 12 signing up, especially considering some of those teams like West Virginia almost didn't even have a home when Notre Dame blew up the Big East. And the teams in the ACC that are probably speaking up the loudest, because the rumor I heard was that Narduzzi was one of them. I don't know if you saw that. And people were saying like it's sour grapes from Pitt. Pitt lived in the Big East when Notre Dame blew it up. They blew it up, and the Big East was solid for a while there. Like Rich Rod almost had West Virginia go to the national championship. They crushed Georgia. They were crushing like Clemson. And then they almost didn't even have a home. They almost had to drop down to like Conference USA or something. Because it was like just a titanic shift of teams leaving to the SEC that left openings in the Big 12. And West Virginia wasn't even one of the top picks for them. They like just luckily got in because they needed an even number. And Pitt didn't take them to the ACC. The ACC did not want them. And they got into that weird agreement. And all of those teams were in the Big East when Notre Dame blew it up. Miami, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt. I'm probably missing a bunch of them, right? Those are all Big East teams that were warning against this agreement with Notre Dame. And they're back in it, right? It's like crazy where they just can't see it. And they're like, now that the playoff money is real and they need it for NIL, and they go through the books and they're seeing like, bro, we're really just sending the money? They play 5 games. To me, that's the one. If the football money is truthful and they're paying Notre Dame to play 5 games and they're giving them a full conference share, that is insane. And someone screwed up. Because they're not even playing the tough ACC teams. Like Florida State's getting nothing from that agreement. Clemson's getting nothing from that agreement. It's a lose-lose for them. It's the same when Michigan was playing Notre Dame and they tried to bring the non-conference game back. It's a lose-lose for Michigan. For the longest time, Ohio State wasn't playing anyone that big. So Michigan had one more loss potentially playing good Notre Dame teams for no reason. For no reason. And so everyone that's complaining about, oh, well, we're not getting tough games anymore. The SEC did that. The SEC did that by playing an 8-game schedule, talking about how they had to do it because their conference was so tough. And people just don't see it for whatever reason. It has nothing to do with NIL. It's been going this way for a decade now, 2 decades. All the way back to the BCS where teams like USC were getting boxed out when they were clearly the best team. And it was like, well, we had the computers say that the SEC was tough. We had to put like LSU in here, right? Whatever that one year was, I think it was like LSU got in over them. And then there were a couple other ones where it's like, oh, we had to do the LSU-Alabama rematch. It's like, we had to? Did we have to? We had to do that? Or like the year they couldn't put Big 12 in the playoffs and Ohio State got in, and it's like, okay. Like, we got it. That's why I wish they would just throw a wild card. Like, I hope the playoff expands to 24. I hope the group of 5 conferences work on some kind of lawsuit with the NCAA to where they can get auto bids, and then maybe it will just settle at like 32 or something. I just want all conferences to have an auto bid. That way, if your team miraculously wins your conference, you should get in. You should get in. Like Pitt winning the ACC, get in. They had no chance of making the playoffs in real life. But at least they had the card where, hey, we're ACC champs, we're in.
Yeah.
Because right now, no one knows how you can get in. Florida State, undefeated. Undefeated, should have been in. There's no way they should put a 1-loss team. 3 undefeated teams that year. They couldn't find room for them.
Conference champ.
And that's the thing, because it's like, oh, well, Texas
that's another component to it, is that it's not just undefeated, because you start playing the mental gymnastics when you go, well, they were undefeated up until the conference champion, and then they had a bad game. Tough break, great season.
Yeah, but they're still undefeated, though. They won that conference championship.
But I'm just saying, like, I can see from an SEC perspective where they're like, oh, well, you know, our Georgia or Alabama, they were undefeated in the regular season, and now they lost their conference championship. They're definitely the best team. They're definitely the biggest threat. Like, no.
Well, that's why with Georgia being like the top dog and then getting run in a playoff game by like Notre Dame last year, and then I don't even know what happened to them this year. But I know Alabama got run by Indiana. Like, embarrassing. Like, these are the SEC teams getting just embarrassed on the national stage. It's like a different look. They're not used to that. And so that's where, like, going back, would Florida State have won against Washington if they had played instead of Texas? I don't know. Probably not, right? Not with a hurt quarterback. But they deserve the chance. I mean, that Penix team was legit. But Florida State deserved the chance, and then that way, no one could have complained. Like the debate should have only been against Texas and Alabama. Did the head-to-head matter more than the SEC championship? That's it. That could have been the debate. That's what we thought we were going to have. Like, it was almost a joke when they announced that. And I'm glad Michigan won that year to actually start the SEC downfall. Right? That was the year that did it. The universe was like, nope, you guys play with fire. You left Florida State out. Now you're cursed. Now you got to watch Indiana win a national championship in 2 years. How do you like that? Because there's so many SEC teams that all they care about is football, and they just watch Indiana win their first national championship. Just to think about that, how incredible that is. The teams like Ole Miss or Mississippi State or like even South Carolina, I saw that they were talking about Steve Spurrier Day or something because he was, I don't know, he's at a concert. I don't know. But like they're talking about like the glory days of him and all these other schools like Florida, they're like in the wilderness right now. Nothing's going well for them. And then you get Indiana is like, hey guys, we're here, ready to party. And then I saw like in the preseason, they're ranked like in the top 5 again. It's crazy. If Indiana wins multiple national championships, it surpasses everything that Dabo did, right? I think that would almost kick, because like Clemson has been, I hate to say it, Clemson has been like the casual college fan darling, because they came in at a time when Alabama was peak, and they're this small school in South Carolina. A lot of people don't even know where it's located, and they beat them. And their entire existence is like, we're only good at football sometimes. Right? so like, I don't know. Maybe they win other national championships. I don't know. Right? They're never like in the running for Director's Cup or whatever that thing is that I talked about, like UNC winning or at least being at the top with like Texas and all them. Like never in there, Clemson. But now Dabo's kind of fallen off to where, who knows? Like I don't see as many Clemson like casual things that I used to see around here. And I know we're in like a close state, so maybe. But I know when Clemson was hot, they were like the underdog hot. Now it's Indiana. I see a couple of Indiana things. I'm starting to see them pop up. And I'm like, people are on board with Cignetti. I've never seen Indiana gear in my entire life in North Carolina. You lived in North Carolina. Do you remember ever seeing an Indiana fan?
No.
I've seen at least 5 this last month. And it's not even football season, right? Because I thought like, oh, these guys are flying their flag. They're proud still. They're proud, Matt. And they're ready for a top 5 Indiana squad coming in. And they're going to be the new Clemson, I think. Now, will it happen or will they just be like a blip where it's like 1 year and then if this year they win 8 games and they like kind of fall back to earth and it's like, oh, it was mostly the JMU, like guys that he brought with him. That was like the bump to get him the natty. That's what we'll see. But I mean, it has to be killing some Big Ten fans out there, especially like Ohio State ones that are playing for like the biggest roster. And some like guy from Indiana is just out there winning. That's like to me the most insane thing. Has to kill Notre Dame. Freeman talked about how he couldn't go to the NFL. He feels like Notre Dame's like the best place for him to win or whatever. We'll see how you feel in a couple years, dude, if it doesn't work out. Because they ran Brian Kelly out.
Yep.
Stop giving him support. He had that 1 year where they thought, didn't he go like 3-7 or something? We thought he was going to be fired. Or maybe it's 3-9. It might have even been worse than what I thought. So we'll see. But I think that's pretty much. Let me just double check. I think that's most of my topics I had pegged for this week. I know we're talking about college a lot, but that's what's happening, right? Because then you have my other thing. The ACC is in such disarray that they announced like their Friday football schedule, and this follows the Big Ten one, which I don't even know if we talked about it, or if we just joked about it off the show, where none of the big dogs, other than maybe like Penn State, if you consider them one of the top dogs, is in that Friday night slate. But I look at this ACC one. Florida State plays 3 times. And Miami's in here twice at least? And Clemson's in here twice. So you have your 3 biggest teams, and I could be counting wrong. But Florida State has been by far the most successful ACC football program of all time. Why are you putting them on 3 Friday night games? That's absurd. That's absurd to me. I know Miami had their run. They've never won an ACC championship. I know Clemson had their run. They had only success with Dabo. Because Florida State joined in the 90s. Since Florida State joined, Clemson has been second best at best, right? Not even number 2 all the time either. So Florida State's number 1. They should not have the most Friday night games. That's all I'm saying. Do you agree?
I agree. And I think that, but it goes hand in hand with the fact that if they handled business and were blowing teams out, they wouldn't be in that, because they wouldn't want to try to use that slated time for that.
For a beatdown?
They would get, well, yeah. I mean, they lost a couple. They had the overtime game against Virginia. They had some closer matchups that they ended up losing last year. And I think that it's drawing media attention. So they're going to put them on there for the clicks and have people enjoy watching them and get their head kicked in.
Well, I don't know.
The way you stop it is to win.
Well, they have the non-conference Florida game there. I don't have any feeling on how Florida's going to be, but I really don't think Florida's going to beat the crap out of Florida State. I'm almost thinking that they put that one on.
Well, that one isn't quite as bad because that's over Thanksgiving. That's always Thanksgiving break.
What's the other one? Louisville and then Pitt. Oh, at Pitt. You can go to that game. Oh, you're probably coaching.
Yep.
That's a bummer. That's a weird one. Because like Pitt, it's Friday night high school football in Pennsylvania. There should be no way Pitt is hosting a home game. That's like a slap in the face. That's my main complaint with the Friday night games. And I forgot to bring it up with the NFL stuff. The NFL talking about bringing in Wednesday night games and people celebrating it. Like I saw friends on social media like talking about like, can't wait when my team plays. I might just take a day off work and like really get into the Wednesday night game. And I thought, what is wrong with you? Right? That you're so pumped about one more game. Because to me, the Thursday night games haven't even been good. It's been like background noise for me. Jets, like whatever. Like I'm not watching that. If it wasn't for fantasy, I probably wouldn't even have it on. Because, I mean, you're bound to have at least one loser on your team, right? Playing in those games when you get into later rounds. Like you can't have all winners in fantasy. So you're going to have someone on a losing squad. And you're like, please throw him the ball like 10 times tonight when you're getting blown out by the Chiefs. Like, please. For the love of God, let him get 10 receptions on Thursday Night Football. I don't want to have to deal with, as a commissioner, it already annoys the crap out of me when they throw all these curveballs and like trade deadlines and stuff that I have to set up each year because, number one, I don't care. And number two, I'm not going to spend time researching it to figure it out. And then next thing I know, like we're in the middle of the year and someone's like, hey, did we miss our trade deadline? And I'm like, I have no idea. Right? How am I supposed to know? No one trades. So like, I don't look at that in the beginning of the year. Or people will say like, hey, our playoffs are scheduled during the bye week. And I'm like, oh God, why did they extend the bye week? I literally never look at it. And all these changes are making me like paranoid. Like I'm dreading setting up fantasy football because now I have to look through, all right, how many bye weeks are there? Heaven forbid, like I hope we don't have to play a playoff game like week 19 or whatever. How many weeks are there? Like 23 now? Like who knows how many weeks there are in the season. But I don't want playoffs when guys are getting rested. Because could you imagine like losing because your stud is rested? That would be horrible. And as a commissioner, there's nothing I can do. Right? We're at the whim of the NFL.
That's a draft strategy.
I try to draft guys that don't get injured. And that are coming, or like having a rebirth from like an arrest, or some type of other.
Someone that's on the last year of their contract.
They need to last contract year. They need to rehab their image. Those are guys I like. Guys posting videos of them jumping out of poles on YouTube or Instagram, or whatever, like that too. Any guys flexing, I'm into that. Like Tom Brady always doing those like shirtless beach vids. I knew he's ready to play. But some jerks in the league, then when they're doing the auction, they don't let you get your guy. And then you have to trade for him, and everyone complains you're trading for your guy. It's like, oh my gosh, guys, I trade one time. One time I get Tom Brady, and I never get to reap the rewards of that without hearing people cry about it.
Every year, just draft him for $1.
I did do that, remember? I drafted him just in case it came back, and then he never came back. And it hurt my heart to even drop him. Because I thought, are they going to put him on the inactive where I could like put him in the IR and just like sit on him? Because like, what if he did come back? Because even like, was it Phillip Rivers? I mean, they're only going to bring him back for like the playoffs, right? Or no, he did come back and play, didn't he? Was that Phillip? He looked pretty bad though.
Yeah.
I don't think Tom Brady would look that bad. But he also wouldn't be putting up fantasy stats either. So it's kind of like if my guy gets injured, I'd like to have Tom Brady as a backup because better than like Joe Flacco as a backup or something. Kenny Pickett, like what backups you going to be having floating around? Will Howard, you're like, oh God. Heck, the funny thing is, I had a chance to even have Aaron Rodgers as my third string last year. That's how bad he was, and no one wanted him. I'll end the show with that. Aaron Rodgers come back. I could have had my pick at him. I forget who even had a quarterback, but I know I was looking late, and I thought I might need a backup quarterback this week. And I'm like, Aaron Rodgers is available, and I didn't even pick him up. I picked someone else up because I thought, he's terrible. He's going to give me 10 points. Like, I could do better. I could have a better gamble with Taysom Hill, right? Maybe getting a Wildcat touchdown. I could immediately have a better week than with Aaron Rodgers without the headache. But that's all I have for this week. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's good for this week.
Last thing, I don't know if I brought it up on the show, but I ended up coaching undefeated season, right? I don't remember what my record ends up being. I think it was like however many wins. I've had 3 losses, I think 2 ties. And I think it's going to wrap up my coaching soccer career, right? People were requesting that I come back, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Winning doesn't cure all, Matt. I have to pull a Jim Harbaugh. I have to step away like my hero and say, you know what? I want it. And that's it. Go undefeated year. Not a lot of people go undefeated. So it's hard going undefeated, especially with kids on vacation, having leading scorer miss like 2 games. It's tough out there. But getting those guys to win and seeing them smile every week, that's what makes it worth it, right? You're a coach. You live that.
Yes, I do.
So that's it for this week. Let us know what you want us to talk about in this off season. I know we're in a slow period. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.